Japan might have just killed anime.
Help us to save manga, Japanimation, Japanese pop culture, Japanese traditions and technology.
That's Terumi Nishi, a famous anime industry veteran. You might have seen their works in shows from Jujutsu Kaisen to JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. She's protesting against a new change in Japan that affects 5 million people and could destroy the entire anime industry.
It is as if they're trying to brainwash the Japanese people.
And they don't want you to know about it. There are two major problems here. So one, it's taxes, no one likes them, and two, it will post your personal information online, which would be a big problem if you know how it is with things like anime or VTuber fans.
Your information is made public online, including your real name, raising serious privacy and security concerns.
At least that's what people are saying. But it turns out this is wrong. But there's actually a hidden third problem that could cripple the anime industry. In October 2023, Japan implemented the Invoice System. This is a new change in how taxes are handled that affects freelancers. And unfortunately, the anime industry is filled with freelancers. The general opinion is, well, just listen to this. That's Kotono Mitsuishi, the voice of Usagi-chan, known worldwide as Sailor Moon. The invoice system is so dangerous that even the biggest voices, literally and figuratively, are speaking out against it. But it's not just the voice actors. Animators and every single aspect of the anime production pipeline will not escape. So despite how many times I've seen this, I've never really understood it. If you've seen people talk about this before and still don't know what the big deal is, don't worry. Even anime industry experts who are literally talking about this don't know exactly what's going on. To get a clearer picture, I went to look at some non-anime sources, and what I found was surprising. No one was talking about one of the big problems, the anonymity issue. You see, a lot of anime fans are concerned about the invoice system because many animators prefer to be anonymous for their own reasons. We all know fans can be quite crazy. Look no further than VTubers, idols, etc. But turns out only anime fans are talking about this because, like anime, this is fiction, aka it's not real. Somewhere along the line, someone thought that everyone was going to have their personal info publicized in some searchable database, and this misinformation spread around in the anime community. Fortunately, the invoice system will actually delete your private information so that the public will not be able to see it. So your location and name will be kept safe. It is funny to me, and honestly kind of sad, that this was updated just in 2020, a few years before this, so who knows how bad it was before then. But despite this, the Japanese government doesn't have the best track record with private data. But then again, I live in America, so I can't really be the judge, because your data is never safe here. Whether it's private government, military documents, all it takes is a Discord server, or something as simple as your anime subscription, Crunchyroll. Now this is where a big YouTuber would have a sponsorship for a VPN, but really, the ones sponsoring YouTubers are not encrypted enough. Even though data is kept private, freelancers are still angry. If it ain't broke, why fix it? Why is Japan doing this now? First, you need to understand tax deductions. If you don't pay taxes yet, I'll make this super simple to understand. And I'm pretty sure like half of you don't pay taxes. So check out this graphic. Instead of wholesaler, imagine it's the animator, and replace the e-commerce website with a studio, let's say Mappa, and the shopper, that's Crunchyroll, or one of the many people buying Blu-rays. The one buying the anime has to pay taxes because Mappa needs to pay taxes to Japan. So the shopper has to pay an extra 500 yen for tax. Mappa is also a shopper though. They shop for the services from freelance animators, so they'll have to pay 200 yen additional tax for that. But they can actually deduct this from their final tax bill. In this case, Mappa will only have to pay 300 yen total instead of 500. As you can see, this is beneficial to Mappa and any other business. Perhaps a bit too beneficial, because things were not being recorded properly and companies may have gotten away with too much. I mean, just ask Studio Ufotable. Demon Slayer, more like tax of a... Okay, that's not funny. To prevent fraud, Business transactions should be recorded with a qualified invoice. That's the invoice system. Sounds good, right? Yay, no more legal loopholes. The corpo's finally gonna pay. Well, turns out there are unintended side effects for our favorite medium of entertainment. To issue these qualified invoices, these freelancers have to become a registered business, and by doing so, they'll basically be paying 10% more tax. Now, 10% might not seem like a lot, but keep in mind, everyone in anime is living paycheck to paycheck. This will be a shocking change to most animators because before this, they actually paid 0% on this tax. They were tax exempt. Anyone making under 10 million Japanese yen, I think that's around 60,000 USD, was not required to pay these taxes. Actually, they still aren't required. But guess who wants their tax deduction? It's MAPPA. So even though it's optional, studios will want animators to use the invoice system so that way the studio can pay less taxes. If these Japanese consumption taxes sound familiar, it's because it is. It's similar to the value-added tax in places like the EU. As part of the invoice system, Japan will actually be joining a standardized network called PEPL, with near 1 million companies and 32 countries. So in a way, they're actually modernizing. I just use MAPPA as an example, but who really wants to pay more taxes? You'd be a fool to think anime studios are gonna pay more tax. There will be pressure to use this system so companies can save money. Voice actor Yuko Kaida, whose voice you may hear in the latest Spy Family, states that they will be forced to make a hellish choice. If they issue invoices, they will be taxed and their income will decrease, and if they do not issue invoices, their work will be reduced, or worse, fired, blacklisted from the studio or the whole anime industry. But even if they are allowed to keep working, they might not be able to last long. The extra 10% tax is enough that 27% of voice actors will be forced to go out of business. In other words, either their careers will be instantly killed, or they will bleed out, dying a slow death. And if you survive, you'll have to learn to survive with a lot less, because 77% believe that their income will decrease. So if 27% out of business, and 77% earning less, that's a total of 99% of surveyed voice actors negatively impacted by this tax. Why would a company hire you if it meant that now they need to pay more taxes? You'd rather hire the person who is using the invoice system. Now, ironically enough, some companies like MAPPA will increase salaries to make up for this burden. But that's not the case for everyone. So what's the poor anime worker to do? Animator Dong Chang says that freelancers should request higher pay to make up for the tax. But it might not be that easy. If you didn't know, Dong Chang is a Canadian working in Japan. He also has a YouTube channel, so might check that out. For those born and raised in Japan, asking for a raise is not something that they may do. Japanese culture is known to be very top-down, seniority-driven, and so everyone conforms, especially if you're an average freelancer. Typically, the Japanese don't like to ask for raises, as it sets them apart from the overall system. Japan's culture of conformity leaves quite a muted response to this issue by the general public, but you can always count on the foreigners to be more outspoken about things. These English teachers are gathered under their union to protest the invoice system. Their company, GABA, has forced them to use the new invoices and thus take on additional taxes. In addition, they are demanding higher wages. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like anyone is listening. But what's worse is that unlike the teachers, the anime industry does not have unions. There are movements to stop the invoice system, but so far nothing has worked. That's why frustrated Japanese have turned to the hashtag #SaveMangaAnime in hopes that us anime-loving foreigners will bring more attention to it. Despite all their efforts, like gathering over 500,000 signatures for a petition, the Prime Minister Kishida is not reconsidering this change. So what's the future gonna look like for us anime fans all over the world? Here's what I think. According to the data, 30% of anime workers will go out of business. If this happens, the effects will be catastrophic. 30% less people making anime means at the very least, 30% less anime to watch. Now, I know, that might sound like a good thing because of all the pig isekai and vending machine isekais we got. You know, it might be time for a purge, because if anime was in a bubble, this is definitely gonna pop it. It's no secret that every anime production is hanging by a thread. Freelancers are useful to anime studios because they are just flexible. Running out of time before the next episode airs? No problem, just hire a couple freelancers to patch up the holes in your production. They aren't full-fledged employees, so you don't need to worry about an annual salary or benefits such as health insurance. And now with less freelancers, these flaws are going to be seen, even by the most blind eyes. In order to adapt, anime studios are going to have to do a better job creating good work environments for their staff. But who are we kidding here? They never learn, and I doubt they ever will. Just look at MAPPA after Chainsaw Man and now Jujutsu Kaisen. But even if they wanted to fix their crappy schedules, they have a new enemy to deal with. Technology. You need to understand, Japanese companies are filled with boomers, and the anime industry is no exception. In an interview with Studio Trigger, it was revealed that it was common to email around Microsoft Word documents and Excel spreadsheets. This was high tech. No longer did they have to send flash drives with the carrier pigeon. With this workflow, one employee is able to write a paragraph and then send it over to the next person to write the rest. It's the future. But things change after the pandemic. They hit gold. They discovered the cloud. Now with the power of Google Drive, they can keep one file in sync for the whole company. Talk about progress. Oh my god, just imagine when they discover like Google Docs or just use Microsoft 365. Nah, you telling me you can edit the same document with multiple people at the same time? Ain't no way, bro. And this is where the invoice system will hit them by surprise. Deloitte, one of the biggest accounting companies in the world, states, there is a risk that businesses underestimate the scale of the work involved by either implementing or adapting IT systems or renewing business contracts because they are mistakenly assuming that this is a tax issue and not a business transformation issue. Some businesses may, for example, require IT enhancements and upgrades. Knowing the anime industry, they will 100% underestimate the scale of this work. If they keep underestimating the time it takes to make an anime to the point where they just get delayed forever, then just imagine the technical difficulties they'll face when they use new software for these invoices. Even if the number of anime decreases, us anime fans might see the quality decreasing, and we might even hear the quality decreasing too. Voice actress Yuko Kaida mentions that voice actors spend their free time and money on voice lessons. All the voices you love to hear were a result of hard practice, and now with more to worry about, they won't have as much time or money to keep improving their skills, because instead of going to lessons, they might need to go to the accountant. Now, I don't know about you guys, but in general, I prefer Japanese dub voices more than English. Some might account it to the Japan place meme, but I've personally never met a Japanese American that prefers English dub. I'm just saying, I really think voice acting in Japan is just treated more seriously. I mean, they got this whole like seiyuu culture and where the VAs are basically celebrities. And yeah, this invoice system is not looking good for Japanese talent. So with less workers and less studios, even if this does sound okay, the potential purge of the anime industry could lead to bad things. We could see more anime studios hiring people as full-time employees with benefits or raising wages like what MAPPA is doing. But while this does sound amazing, the reality could be terrible. Many smaller companies just can't afford to do this, or else they go out of business. So not only are we getting less anime being made, we're getting less studios making those anime. Companies like MAPPA already jump on popular IP, which attracts animators like honey. Now, if other smaller studios cannot afford to increase wages, then more people will go to the bigger studios. Eventually, companies like MAPPA will be able to gain a large control of the anime industry while smaller companies will die out. With less companies involved, we could see less competition, aka less risk-taking and creativity. Just take a look at the American entertainment industry, dominated by companies like Disney, which is great if you're a fan of bland and repetitive remakes for the purposes of modernization. While I do think that we might need to trim some fat from the anime industry, this tax invoice system is not it. It's a little too much, too fast. The slow-moving Japanese industry will not be able to adapt in a healthy way, and the result could be terrible for the future of anime. In an effort to increase taxes, Japanese pop culture has been sidelined. It's strange that Japan doesn't understand the soft power they hold, while other countries all actively support their pop culture, even providing tax incentives directly, such as with K-pop. If the invoice system continues to affect all freelancers, at the very least, Japan should provide incentives to the anime industry. Otherwise, their top cultural export is in danger. Though I might be a doomer here, I'm optimistic that they'll eventually figure something out. At least in my lifetime, otherwise, GG. Anyways, what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below and feel free to share the video, cause I know the average anime fan is not watching this.